The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Wait until you hear some of the clips I'm going to play. When it comes to the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey. Is it Frey? Fry? I'm still not 100% sure on that. But he says something where he's like, and you'll hear it in a few minutes, but he says something like, well, I'm biased because my eyes and ears saw what it saw and heard what it heard. And I'm like, obviously it did not, because what you're saying is not what's actually in the video. So we'll go over that. Obviously, that was the big subject during the Sunday news talk shows. Some of them talked about Iran a little bit, but they really didn't want to. They're just like, no. Part of that is maybe they don't want to give Trump credit, but part of it is we've kind of been here before. It seems like every time we talk about a real protest in Iran that could change the regime, nothing ends up happening. So we'll get to that and more. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Walker, let's get to it because it is Monday in the 10 o'clock hour, so you know what that means. Time for the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. Yes, I'm talking Meet the Press on NBC or Face the Nation on CBS or whatever they are. I recap it for you so you can enjoy your Sunday. Like I said, I have a friend who watches reruns of Gunsmoke instead. I mean, I guess. I'm still convinced, even though Christmas is over, I think Dale Jackson is watching Hallmark movies. I don't know how long they play the Christmas ones. That's what I think he does on Sunday mornings. You should go to church. That's what you should do. But whatever you want to do, it's my public service to you, and it's free to you. Look at that. Look at that. But you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's get to some of these cuts. We'll start here with Kristi Noem, who's the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. I will admit that I do have a problem with something she says here as well. It's not as crazy as what Tim Walz has been saying or what Jacob Frey has been saying, but it is annoying a little bit, so I'll get to that. But go ahead and play Kristi Noem cut 1 for me, Walker.
Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Well, everything that I've said has been proven to be factual and the truth. This administration wants to operate in transparency. I have the responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to know this information as soon as possible. Had just been in Minneapolis the day before, had already had conversations with officers on the ground and supervisors and knew the facts and decided that the department and the people of this country deserve to know the truth of the situation of what had unfolded in Minneapolis.
All right, there you go. She put out a statement pretty soon after it happened, talking about the shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent who felt like his life was in danger because she accelerated the car towards him. Go ahead and play cut 2, though. This is where I get a little bit annoyed by her.
Well, with all due respect, Secretary, the first thing you said was, quote, what happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow. Correct. Because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. That's not what happened. We all saw what happened.
It absolutely is what happened. Those officers had been out in enforcement action. A vehicle had been stuck. They had come to help get that vehicle out. That's when this individual started blocking traffic for minutes and minutes.
You said that the woman attacked them and surrounded them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Blocked the road for a long time and was yelling at them and impeding a federal law enforcement investigation. And that's what you need to focus on, Jake, is they were breaking the law by impeding and obstructing a law enforcement operation. They were breaking the law already, and these officers were doing their due diligence and what their training had prepared them to do to make sure they were handling it appropriately.
Now, the last part of what she said was fine, but it really is the first part. I hate to say this. But Jake Tapper does kind of make a good point here. She doesn't know 100% that it was her intention to run over that officer. It seems like it, according to some of the evidence, but there's evidence to suggest the other way, and they kind of get into it here, back and forth. Go ahead and play cut 3 of Kristi Noem for me.
You said within hours of her being killed, you said that she was a domestic terrorist. How do you define domestic terrorist?
She weaponized her vehicle to conduct an act of violence against a law enforcement officer and the public. They are doing that.
How can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
So that's where I'm like, look, he makes a good point. You can't say with certainty. Now, it's one thing if you're a pundit or you're a blogger or whatever, and you're like, look, this is just my opinion, but she's the head of this investigation. She should at least be able to come out and say, look, I don't know for sure. And by the way, legally, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if it was domestic terrorism or if she was trying to flee. Legally, all that matters is that ICE agent had a reasonable fear of death or serious injury in the moment that he shot. That, legally speaking, that's where we are. That's all you have to say. But to go down the road and say, absolutely, it's domestic terrorism, maybe it is. But it's smart as the head of an investigation to be a little bit more careful. I know politicians sometimes don't do that these days, but that's just my general take. Everything else she said is fine. Everything else is correct. This is someone who was there to get in the way of ICE. They were verbally attacking ICE, her and her wife, and all of that stuff. She shouldn't have been there to begin with. I've talked about this before. But I also think it's probably a good idea to say, look, maybe she was just fleeing, but it doesn't matter. Go ahead and play the next cut of Kristi Noem.
The question is, I don't doubt. My position is, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Some people say that it clearly showed that she was trying to hit him and did. Some people say, no, she was clearly trying to move her car and flee and get away. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how do you know? How can you assert for a fact within hours, before any investigation, this is what happened?
The facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was, throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out, that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
So the last part of her statement there is what she should have said the whole time, is my point. Because when you're not as careful as you should be, that could get in the way of an investigation. That's all my point. Okay, so that was my kind of one complaint. This is why you have me as your voice of reason through it all. But now we have to go to the other side of this, because Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, came on right after Kristi Noem. They were both on CNN State of the Union with Jake Tapper. And, he was asked to respond. And, of course, you have part of the response from Kristi Noem, which I disagree with, and then you have this, which is just ridiculous. So go ahead and play Jacob Frey cut 1.
Mayor Frey, your response to what you just heard from Secretary Noem, she invoked you by name.
That was some wild and crazy stuff. It sounds like she doesn't believe a single word that she is saying right now. And I don't know if Donald Trump was drinking a glass of water, if she'd actually be able to speak. Because here's the thing, she's calling Minneapolis like this dystopian hellhole. You know how many shootings we've had so far this year? 2. And one of them was ICE. 2 shootings in a large city so far this entire year, and one of them is ICE. This is a safe city. ICE and Kristi Noem and everything they're doing is making it far less safe.
I hate that we have law enforcement activity and our response is to blame law enforcement for any problems. If you were cooperating to begin with them, you wouldn't have these problems. Go and play cut 2 of Jacob. See, Jake Tapper said Jacob Fry. Is it Fry? Go ahead and play cut 2 of Jacob Fry.
But you also said on Wednesday, quote, this was a federal agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. Does your rhetoric need to change?
Yeah, I said this was a federal agent recklessly using power that ended up in somebody dying because that was a federal agent recklessly using power that ended up in somebody dying. It's exactly what happened. I mean, am I biased in this? Of course, and I'm biased because I got 2 eyes. Anybody can see these videos. Anybody can see that this victim is not a domestic terrorist. I mean, my goodness, she's like doing a 3 or a 4 or 5 point turn. This looks like somebody that's trying to get out of there. If doing a 3 point turn or a 4 point turn is a domestic terrorist, and my wife is a criminal every single day, it does not make sense.
Come on. Even if you disagree with the shot, we're going to pretend that this woman, she was just casually doing a 3 point turn. You know, there was some traffic and she wanted to turn around and it was a stop. And you hear in the video, you hear her wife say, punch it. You see it accelerate. So he says, I'm biased because my eyes and ears. You see what's happening. Even if you disagree with ICE being there, even if you disagree with Kristi Noem's characterization of domestic terrorism, even if you don't like the shot, to go to this total opposite extreme and make it seem like, well, it was just a mere parking violation, and then she was shot dead for it. Like, I don't know how people concede. Let me give you the reasonable response again here. This was from Andrew McCarthy of the National Review. Legally, what matters is whether the ICE agent who shot Good was in reasonable fear of death or serious injury in the moment that he shot. His state of mind must be assessed in light of all the surrounding circumstances as he perceived them, which excludes things about Good, positive or negative, that he did not know. Moreover, the evaluation is what a reasonable law enforcement officer would have perceived. That's different from a reasonable person because law enforcement officers deal with life and death situations and observe things that might escape other people's attention. That's the response here. Everything else is kind of ancillary. But yet, you have officials, and some on both sides, honestly, not getting this right. I want to get your take on this. You can weigh in on the Yaffee text line, of course, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WV. Now, let me give you my take on Jay's Appliance Outlet. Go to Jay's Appliance Outlet today. If you're wanting to cook for your family, and, maybe you have a stove, and it's really cold outside. You're like, I'm going to cook some hot chili. I'm going to cook some hot stew. Why is my chili cold? Why is my soup cold? Could be your oven. Could be your stove, your oven, your microwave, whatever it is. If that's not working right and you need to buy a new one, don't go to one of the big box stores where you're going to pay too much. You're not going to get great customer service. It's going to be a big hassle. Instead, go to Jay's Appliance Outlet where you're going to get a great deal. They have inventory specials going on. They have scratch and dent deals going on. And the best customer service you're ever going to get. Go to Jay's Appliance Outlet. There's a reason why people have told me, thanked me personally for recommending Jay's Appliance Outlet. They're located in Athens, next to the Pep Boys. You can go to the website, jaysapplianceal.com as well. jaysapplianceal.com. When you go and get that new stove and your chili is actually hot, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Get ready for The Rush with Max Crosby.
It's time.
Your all-access pass into the heart of the NFL.
This is the National Football League, and they don't play around. You got to be smart.
All-pro defensive end Max Crosby takes you beyond the field with exclusive insights.
I could say this because I've played them.
This is The Rush.
You guys already know what time it is. It was fire, and we'll be right back on the pod, and we'll be talking about it next week.
The Rush with Max Crosby. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Back here on the Yaffee program. Glad you have joined the show today. And of course, if you ever missed the show, the podcast is available anywhere podcasts are available, including at WVNN.com or the WVNN app. And if you want to weigh in, we have our Yaffee text line. Yes, 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. Let's get to it, the second segment of the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. I give you the day off. I give you Sunday off. Look at that from the news. And I don't accept any taxpayer funds to do it, like some outlets try to do. You're welcome. All right, I want to go through these Tom Homan cuts. He's Trump's border czar. I think he's pretty much right. And he had a much better response to a lot of this than Kristi Noem did. But he was on Fox News Sunday. Go and play a Tom Homan cut one for me.
Well, look, since then I've looked at a bunch of videos. And I truly believe that officer thought his life was in danger to take that action. Now, look, we won't let the investigation play out. You know, there's a lot of things we all don't know. There's probably a lot of video we haven't seen, but the FBI has, even ring video. What's the statement from the officer? What's the statement from the witnesses? What's ballistics? The ballistics, you know, I'm sure they're looking at ballistics and the forensics. There's a lot of information needs to come out, so I'm still going to say, let's stop the hateful rhetoric. You can't compare this to murder. Murder requires malice, and that is just dangerous to put that type of language out. Let the investigation play out. And see where it lies.
That's what I wish Kristi Noem would have said, honestly. But he's right. From everything I've seen, it looks like he reasonably feared for his life. And because of that, and he's a law enforcement officer in that situation, he is allowed to respond with force. And once you respond with force in that situation, that's deadly force, lethal force. Go and play Tom Homan cut 2.
Look, it's a federal crime to impede and interfere with an ICE officer. And I think, look, it's a coordinated attack. We can see what's happening throughout the country. I think it's a funded, organized attack against ICE officers. And what really irritates me is the left wants to play this game that ICE, they're not law enforcement officers. They are federal law enforcement officers. Impeding them and interfering them is a crime. No one would be arguing if we're arresting people that interfere with DEA before, arresting a drug dealer or a U.S. Marshal in attempts to arrest a fugitive. If someone stood in your way, that's a crime and you'd be arrested. But it seems like they want to, they normalize, the media is normalizing interference with ICE. It is a crime to impede ICE officers. Bill Maloogian just put out a list of 18 of the worst of the worst in Minneapolis, many of them child sex crimes, child rape, child sodomy. These are the people we're looking for. And for anybody to interfere in that is unconscionable. We need to enforce the law and arrest these bad guys. We've already arrested over 1,000 people in that state, and we're going to continue to do exactly what Congress has allowed us to do and what the law allows us to do.
Once again, 100% right. Everything he said there, 100% right. Go ahead and play a cut 3 of him.
Look, that state's a sanctuary state. It's a sanctuary city. They don't work with us. And that's one of the problems here. And it's one of the reasons we're in the position we're in that city, because law enforcement response has been sporadic at best. This is sanctuary city. Let's remember, why are we in that city right now? Because we're a sanctuary city that purposely releases public safety threats back into the public. I just mentioned about all these cases that child sex crime, child sodomy, child rape, that they release back into the community. These are people we have to go look for. And who set the stage for all this? The last 4 years of an open border, millions of people released in this country without vetting, a lot of criminals, a lot of national security threats. That's why we're there. Let's not forget who set the stage on this. So all these people on the Democratic side and all these liberal people want to scream and yell about our law enforcement activities. They didn't say a word when there's an open border. They didn't say a word when 500,000 children were smuggled in this country, lost track of 300,000, and they weren't even looking for them. President Trump and this administration found 120.
All right, you can stop it there. I mean, he made his point, but there you go. We might get to another cut of him later on. More of the Yaffee program. What's trending? Coming up next, Bugsy is here, going to do that. So we'll be back in a moment.
The Yaffee program.
Hey, I'm Chris Van Vliet, host of the #1 podcast, Insight with Chris Van Vliet. On the show, I sit down with the biggest names in pro wrestling, sports, film, and beyond. These are real, long-form conversations that go behind the scenes and beyond the headlines with people like John Cena, The Undertaker, Cody Rhodes, and more. We talk mindset, motivation, and what it takes to succeed. This is Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program right here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Yes, you know, I'm Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. Don't forget you can weigh in on the Yaffee text line as always, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. All right, Walker, let's get to it. The third and final segment of the Sunday News Show's recap. All right, first I got to start off with a cut that's pretty beyond reason by Ilhan Omar. She's a congresswoman from Minnesota, and she was commenting on the whole situation with ICE and the ICE officer having to shoot and kill someone because he thought he was going to get run over by a car. Got hit by the car, actually. You can see it in the video. Play Ilhan Omar cut 2 for me.
If they are saying that he has 10 years on service and is trained, he should know that you shouldn't be trying to get in front of a moving car. And
Dear God, he should know that he should not try to get in front of a moving car. The way it, and this is what I mean, it amazes me. We can all see the same video, and yet she'll say something like that. It's obvious in the video, the car is not moving. It's not like he just went out into the street in oncoming. He just goes out in oncoming traffic. And then because there's traffic coming, he just shoots them dead. Like, that's what it sounds like she's saying. Obviously, in the video, the car is at a standstill. They tell her to get out of the car. He is in front of the car, and then she floors it. And yeah, maybe she was just trying to get out of there, but in flooring it with the officer in front of the car, and in the video, by the way, you see her look at him. But she floors it, and he feared for his life. And he gets hit by the car. It's obvious in the video. So that's there. that's a comment. Now, Brad Todd was one of the people on the CNN panel during CNN's State of the Union, and I thought his response was pretty reasonable. So you have Ilhan Omar crazy, and then Brad Todd being a voice of reason. Play the Brad Todd cut for me.
It's a tragedy that Renee Good is dead, and we should all mourn it. We should all mourn it. We also should look back what went wrong but way before that. Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, encouraged people to put their bodies on the line. That is irresponsible. Democrats who are encouraging people to obstruct law enforcement, they're putting them in harm's way with their rhetoric, and it's wrong. Republicans shouldn't do it. Democrats shouldn't do it. We also have a problem that the Minneapolis police are not allowed to do crowd control. The encounter between Renee Good and those ICE officers shouldn't have happened. Minneapolis police should have been there as a buffer, but we don't have it because Minneapolis ordinances prohibit them from even being there when there's ICE in coordination. We have to change this. We have to have, Christine Ohm said it this morning, state and local officials need to help ICE do their job, not encourage people to stop them.
Exactly. If you're worried about these encounters between ordinary citizens and ICE, help ICE do their jobs. And the fact is, if you really are one of those people that thinks that ICE is just randomly picking off people in the street and disappearing them. I mean, the likelihood of them actually doing that when there are other police officers around would go down, right? You wouldn't want them to see it. But it's their policy as a sanctuary city not to even be around. So you're creating more problems. Now, I want to play another Tom Homan cut here as well. This is a good cut. Play cut 4 of Tom Homan for me.
It's ridiculous. Bottom line is they don't have to shut schools down. They can't give me one example where ICE has walked into an elementary school or a church or hospital. It's ridiculous. And all this false narrative that they're pushing, it's just going to double down on hate against ICE. For instance, calling it a murder, the mayor calling it a murder. The hateful rhetoric has caused a lot of this violence. I said way back in March, if the hateful rhetoric doesn't decrease, there will be bloodshed. Unfortunately, I was right. And it's not over. There will be more bloodshed unless we decrease the hateful rhetoric. To compare this officer to a murder, are you kidding me? Threats against ICE officer, actual attacks are up 1,300%. A lot of it's based on the hateful rhetoric from people who don't understand.
Stop right there. I mean, there you go. He's like, look, we're not doing all these things, and it doesn't matter. The rhetoric will continue. All right, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. I'll be back then.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
Hey, I'm Chris Van Vliet. This is Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Go behind the scenes and beyond the headlines with people like John Cena.
That's where Never Give Up comes from. I wasn't Brock. I wasn't Roman. I wasn't Dwayne. I was last.
And the biggest names in pro wrestling and beyond.
It's a legitimate interview.
This is Insight with
Chris Van Vliet.
Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.